you had a totally different career before that, and now you've got a totally different career after that. So let's go back to your very first career, and then we can carry on through, because it's absolutely fascinating journey.
Yeah, absolutely, Susan. So I've said to you before, it's strange that it is a fascinating story to everybody else, because it's just so normal to me that everything changes and evolves all the time. But my career very early on was very, very different to where it is now. Albeit I think the point of the careers that I've chosen have all got a similar thread. So I started life as a police officer. So I joined West Midlands Police at the age of 19. And spent 10 years with them doing a variety of different things, trying to be a detective, worked within child protection, vulnerable adult team, went on to the training department, which was my first introduction really of my love for teaching and helping people to learn and guide them through that process. But I left when I was just coming up to 30. I had my little boy and tried to return after maternity leave, and I had fallen out of love with the job, and it was very hard to then continue to do when I was leaving my little one at nursery to go and do something that I didn't love. So one thing I have learned all the way through my working career is if you don't love what you do, it's very, very hard to stay in a good place mentally with it. So for me, it was time to leave, and I made the decision to go. But in the latter years of being in the police, I'd started dipping my toe into the world of the beauty industry anyway, because I'd set up my own business doing bridal hair and makeup. So I used to do that alongside my role in the police. And that had grown and got to a good place. So what had happened was, when I went back after having my son, that there was so much business for weddings, and I was trying to work part-time hours, but actually I was just exhausting myself because I was doing part-time hours in the police and then running a full-time bridal business. So it was a lot. And that's why I left and went full-time into the bridal industry and doing hair and makeup. So the theme of wanting to help people, I think, is the thing that has always been there. And I felt like I couldn't achieve that in the police. Really enjoyed the role that I did as a bridal hair and makeup artist, which I still do. It's just not my main role anymore. But what that really highlighted to me is the wedding day time is such a significant time for people when they're thinking about how they look. That the types of conversations I was having with brides, so detailed conversations about how they felt about themselves, that process of getting ready for a wedding, their relationship with themselves. They used to just come out with some like really deep and personal stuff, like really quickly, like through the trial process and all of that sort of stuff. So that was the first sort of introduction to me that made me very proactive in the conversation that we're going to continue to talk about later around body image and sort of how the beauty industry impacts that, because it became really evident that just how many people are struggling with it, and actually how problematic it is and how deep-rooted it is. So my career progressed through the beauty industry then. So I had a salon for a while, which is how me and you got connected, that focused predominantly on the process of getting ready for a wedding. So all of the treatments lined up with that. The salon closed when my business partner had a different route. So we decided to close the salon because I'd had another child by that point and didn't want to keep that on my own with two small children. So had a home salon for a while, dealt with the COVID craziness that everybody else had to deal with, and try and figure out, how to move back into work when that happened. And actually that sort of pause time that we'd had just given me a chance to do a bit of reflecting and learning. And I started to look much more deeper into the body image work and that, what I said earlier about how the industry affects people's body image. And that's evolved then into learning so much about inclusion and about how other people experience the world. And it's just made me really be able to see how much we are missing as an industry with the way that we support people being able to access our services, the way that we portray our services, and the ongoing impact that has. And I think that we were talking earlier before we were recording about the reputation of the industry. And I think that what that part with COVID highlighted was actually from a government point of view, how little respect there seemed to be for our industry. And I think part of the motivator around wanting to have these conversations with more spa and salon owners is because I'm really passionate about our industry, like you are, that it is full of some absolutely phenomenal people. The money that it generates, the entrepreneurs that are within it, some of it is just mind-blowing, and it just doesn't get the respect that it deserves. And I feel that if we can actually raise our game, not just with the treatments that we provide, but help to connect the dots with the impact that we have on the communities that we work within, and the way that we support that, just to really highlight and underpin how important these businesses are for the overall UK, not just about the individual person, but the impact we can have collectively, because there's salons and spas everywhere. It's such a big network of a community in itself. So the reach that we can have and the knock-on effect for the impact we have on mental well-being and people's body image and the way that they feel included in our industry can be huge if people can listen and understand the message that I've got to share.
So really, when you look at it, your career, really, it has been a progression. Each stage has sort of led to where you are now, isn't it? Was there sort of a pivotal point where you just thought, I've got to do this, I've got to make this change?
Do you know, well, I did. There is a very specific point where with one of my mentors, my business mentors, where I sort of spoke to her about this kind of like frustration that I had about the impact the industry is having, but not really knowing if this conversation is a thing that people are going to be interested in learning about. So we've got a bit of an ongoing joke where anytime anything happens and we make some progress, she just comes back to me and goes, well, it is a thing then, isn't it? So there was a moment, and that was, about September 2021. So as we were coming out of COVID and sort of everything warming back up, and like I was saying, I was in a bit of a transition period of sort of going. So for me, the last couple of years has been taking that idea that's really deep down in my gut of there's got to be a better way that we can do this and have a more positive impact, and then learning how to do that, how we can do that. So that's put me into places where I've retrained to be a body confidence coach. So I spent 6 months learning and working with clients to get through those qualifications, to look at the actual, how individual people can improve their body confidence.